All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Mic Drop Mondays. It is January 11th as we are recording this. We have three special guests on in addition to our normal entourage of Mic Drop Monday people. Renee and Sarah on. That is not what Renee looks like, but it's in the ballpark, I guess.
It's
Close
pretty
enough.
close. Pretty close.
I don't know about that. All right. This show, we are going to talk about the Table 2 experience. We're going to talk about how our union has kind of dealt with that and what is going on with that. And we're going to hear from everyone as far as their ideas, their suggestions, what they feel passionately about. And hopefully we'll have a really good conversation here. So let's go around and
Wait, I
introduce
forgot to
us.
say, if you're not talking, can you be on mute? And then when you talk, to unmute.
Okay. That slows it down a bit, but okay.
Well, you hear the background noise when
Right.
someone's talking. So
Yeah, someone's noise was bad. I don't know whose it was, but anyway, all right. So we're back. Sarah will edit that part out. And now we go, let's do introductions and then we'll get into the conversation. Adam, I think you should go first. You got probably a little more lengthy of an introduction. You got a whole podcast that you do yourself. And I don't know where, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think I had a long introduction. I'm Adam
We'll
Crosby.
see.
Yeah. I'm a table 2 carrier. I've been carrying for 10 years. In upstate New York, member of Branch 210. I do have a separate podcast. It's called the Table 2 Ticket. It's a podcast for by and about table 2 carriers. That's really it. I mean, I'm just a carrier, so it's not a long intro. Easy peasy.
You say 10 years, so you started in
January
2015?
2016.
2016, January? Okay.
Yep.
Got it. And you started as a CCA, I assume?
I did, yeah. I started as a CCA in a small town, Geneva, New York, and then I transferred after, I think, 3 months, 4 months, something like that, and restarted as a CCA. So I ended up spending, I think, just over 3 years as a CCA.
Got you. So what step are you at now?
I don't know, somewhere in the middle.
Like halfway, right? Not even halfway, maybe.
Just over halfway, I think. I don't know, H maybe.
Right.
I just this pay period, I just moved up another one, so I'd have to check.
Okay, awesome. Harmon, what's your name, Harmon?
In case you didn't hear Mike, my name's Harmon. I'm a carrier outside of Boston, pretty close to Boston, part of the Boston installation, and I'm in Branch 34. Been, I think, a carrier now for 4 years. Started as a CCA, then we went to all PTFs. Funny thing, before I even got the PTF pay, I made regular because we were that understaffed. So I've been a regular for a little less than 4 years.
You started like what, 2022?
Yeah.
So you missed the whole pandemic, huh?
Yeah, well, I heard about it. I have friends at the post office that they were CCAs for 2+ years. The ones who told me to apply. And they kind of gave me a heads up on you won't have a life when you start here.
Now that's universal, whether you're table 1, table 2, whatever. That part is pretty universal. It's the pay that is significantly different.
Yep.
Ross, you're up, man.
So my name is Ross Thorpe. Probably started the same time as Adam. My first day, I had orientation on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So about a carrier for 10 years. I was a CCA in a really small office and then transferred to Moline and was a CCA here for almost another 2 years. So I have about 4 years of CCA experience.
So you became Or you went from CCA to being a regular, right? Full-time regular in Moline.
Yeah, we didn't have PTS here yet.
And that was like 2020?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was December 2020. Yeah.
December 2020. Okay. Okay. And I think Renee and Sarah, you guys should tell everyone, how long you've been in and all that. Renee, we'll make you go first.
Yeah. I started the post office in 2019, and I'm at step G is my step. Yeah, I don't know what all you want me to say.
You started
here.
as a CCA in 2019, and then
Yeah,
then you went to be a
CCA.
full-time regular?
Yep.
When was that?
In 2020, I turned over right before my year.
Oh, okay. Not too bad on that one. What about you, Sarah?
I started in 2016, June of 2016, and I didn't convert to full-time regular until January of 2018. The route went up the end of November, so they made me wait until mid-January to convert.
To fill the vacancy.
Yeah.
And then you transferred offices as a
And then I
full-time regular?
transferred, yes, as a full-time regular during COVID.
You wanted a new experience?
No, I wanted,
germs?
well, yes, and I wanted to be close enough to home that I didn't need a vehicle, so I could
Nice.
ride my bike to work or walk to
Oh,
work.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful. I wish we all could do that.
yeah, that'd be nice.
All right. Thank you guys for the introduction. And so I'll just kind of preface this whole conversation with I think there's a general lack of understanding amongst our most seasoned carriers, particularly ones that are members of the union but are retired, or just kind of their whole experience was in the Table 1 environment. So I started in 1994. Everybody at that time started as a PTF. I was only a PTF for 9 months, but even if I was a PTF for longer, a lot of people are PTF for a much longer period of time than I was. But, for pay and benefits purposes, you were on Table 1. Table 1 pay chart, if you guys go look at it, is still out there. You would get to step D, as in David, which is like 3 steps up the chart, and you would be like 92% to the top. Whereas now, even when you get on the table, when you get on the career pay chart, if you start non-career, which most of our people do still to these days, although there are some offices that are hiring directly to career, but most of our people are starting as non-career. Non-career is now capped at 2 years, but it was not capped at 2 years previous to that. And so you wait the 2 years, and then you get on the pay chart, which it's now reduced down to about 12 years. It was up to like 13 years at one point. And the experience has just been completely different for the people that started after January 10th, 2013, when the DOS award came out. And to add kind of insult to injury, everyone that is a career carrier that began after 2014 is paying 4.4% into their FERS retirement. That money is coming directly out of your check. It's a 3.6% pay cut. I mean, 3.6 is a lot of money coming out of your check, and for the life forever. 3.6% extra comes out of your check forever. So anyway, that's just a frame of reference. I don't know if anyone, I'm sure someone out there has done the math, and maybe they can send us a little chart or something. I didn't have time to do it, but if you started in 2012, just as an example, I was trying to think of a good comparison example. If you started in 2012 and you started as a TE, and then you became a CCA in 2013, and then let's say you were a CCA for like 3 years, and then you became a full-time regular in 2016, and at that time the pay chart was 13 years, you wouldn't reach the top until 2029, a full 17 years after beginning your career as a letter carrier. And we have people that are in that category or something close to that. And the difference, the two differences between the table 2 pay chart and the table 1 pay chart that are significant is, one, the table 2 pay chart starts a lot lower. That's probably the biggest difference. And the second difference is that in the table 2 pay chart, there's an incremental rise to the top that did not exist in the table 1 pay chart. In the table 1 pay chart, the raises were front loaded. And I talked about, getting to step B. That's because those raises between A and B and C were huge jumps. They were big leaps forward, like $5,000 a year or, whatever. Like, they were big leaps. And so you started a lot higher, you jumped up quick in the beginning, and then you kind of coasted throughout your career. And most letter carriers were making a comparable salary to each other. Whereas now, if you start as a CCA, $21.21, comparatively wise, a full-time regular at Top Step, which Top Step is only like 30% of the workforce now, because there's so much turnover now and people are not sticking it out, and it takes so long to get to the top step. But people at the top step are making like $40 an hour, so almost double. But they're making more than double if you consider, the benefits, the contributions toward retirement, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a workforce that when you start, you're making significantly less than 50% of the people that are at the top. So the range of, it used to be pretty much letter carriers all kind of made the same amount. There was always steps and there was always differences, but those were incremental and they were not nearly as consequential as they are now. But I would like to see a comparison between a 2012 carrier, if you started as a TE and went through the progression to a CCA like I was talking about, or a 2012 carrier that might have started as a PTF. What would the difference be in 2012 and 2013 and 2014 and 2015 and 2016? I mean, you go year by year and there's going to be a huge difference in the amount of money that person is going to make that started as a TE and then became a CCA versus one that would have started as a career employee. And then, you talk about the money that goes into the thrift savings plan that you're not going to be able to put in. I mean, there's just so many different variables, all to the negative, for the person that started like that, and then became part of what we call the table 2 workforce. I'll throw out one last statistic, and that is that I think I said about 70%, about 30% of the carriers at top pay. It's somewhere around 3/4 now almost, I think. Somewhere around that number, 75% of the carriers that are active carriers started as, are in table 2 is what I want to say. They started became career carriers after January 10th, 2013. And what is stark to a lot of our younger members is that when you're on the workroom floor, like, everyone's a table 2 carrier, but you go to the union meeting, you go to the conventions, you go to different events within the union, and it doesn't look like that. And the perspective of those people at those meetings and at the convention are skewed the other way. And normally on the workroom floor, 2/3, 3/4 are table 2 carriers, and you go to the meeting and the conventions, and it's kind of the other way a lot of times, where 2/3 or 3/4 of the people there, had the table 1 experience. And there's some other differences that are not economic, in my opinion, because the job is different now. I think there's a lot more harassment. There's a lot more. We're on our feet longer. We're out on the street longer, more hours. It's more damaging to the body because of the hours that you're on your feet versus before. There's other, distinctions that are non-economic, but I think for the majority of our people, the main deal is economic. It's hard to get into the middle class when you're on the table 2 pay scale. It takes a really, really long time. I'll open it up in a second, but we do got somebody else that joined us. Brother Rivera, you want to introduce yourself? Give us a quick little background.
Hey, everybody, and thanks for the invite. I am Michael Rivera. I'm a city letter carrier out of Branch 70 in San Diego, California. I guess maybe people know me from I'm the host of a Code Light Blue podcast, and I was the guy who filed charges earlier in 2025 against Brian Renfro and Paul Barner, and subsequently the executive council in the second set of charges. That's kind of how I came into existence.
When did you start as a carrier?
I started as a carrier 2014. I initially was a PSE, then on a dare switched out to be a CCA. I remember the TEs at the time.
There was no truth. No truth option.
No.
just a dare.
Yeah, it was just a dare. It was just a dare. they told me, hey, I couldn't do it. But I'm just a click. They came back one day. They were like, you can't cut it. You can't cut it as a carrier. And so that was during the time when the TEs eventually got switched out to be CCAs, and then the opportunity came up, and I was like, you know what? I'll try it. So I stepped up, became a CCA, and been a carrier ever since.
How long were you a CCA?
About maybe maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then and you became a full-time regular like 2016-ish?
You know what? No, it was 2013 when I became 1 year as a PSC, and then 2013 was when I was a CCA. 2014 was when I converted. Yeah, that's what it was. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about over 11 years now. That's crazy.
All right, so you weren't here. We went over the ground rules. The ground rules is Renee told you got to go on mute when you're not talking. So you got to go on mute now. Sorry. Look, you just jumped right on it. All right. Hey, Adam, I want to bring you in first, I guess, because you got a whole table 2 ticket, and I just want to hear more about what you've been up to. What's going on with your show? What kind of topics have you covered? What kind of guests have you had? And, maybe what has been your experience so far within the union, or what, kind of whatever else you want to talk about. Why don't you start us off, and then we'll go from there.
Man, that's a wide range of topics. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what's in your mind, but yeah,
lots of stuff. Yeah, on the table 2 ticket, like you were mentioning earlier, you'd like to see those numbers. I posted them on the table 2 tickets Facebook group. It's not comparing specifically a 2012 carrier who was a TE versus a 2012 carrier who became a CCA. 2012 they didn't really have a contract, so it's hard to specify what their pay was right then. But I think I did a 2008, 2009, and 2010 carrier versus a 2013 or a 2014 carrier, and then you can project it out kind of. We were going through contracts. I did this in 2024, and we were going through negotiations, and so we didn't have the most recent I haven't updated it since, but yeah, it's like $131,000 for comparing a 2010 carrier to a 2013 carrier over the first 10 years of their career. So those numbers are out there. You can find them every once in a while. I enjoyed
average of 13,000 a year.
Yeah,
that's like 25% of your pay.
Huge. It was a big drop. And you had mentioned also, the experience of Table 1 or retirees. It was funny. We just had a union meeting last week, and one of the retirees had mentioned what they started at. It was like $5 an hour or something way back when. And someone in the meeting literally actively looked it up, what $5 an hour would be now, and they were like $38 an hour.
I do the same thing. I put it right in. I have that little inflation calculator from the Bureau of Labor Statistics or whatever. Mm-hmm. I have it on my, like, it's one of the things that's open on my phone at all times. I said, what year? How much?
I didn't realize
what that is right now.
Yeah, I'll have to download the app. I don't know.
It's the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you go to their website, like if you Google Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator.
Yep.
Because there's different inflation calculators, but I like that one just because it comes directly from the government.
Makes sense. I don't know if I would like.
I think it's one of the more conservative ones. I've seen ones that give you a higher number, but that one is probably pretty accurate. I think. I don't know. That's the one I use.
Makes sense. But yeah, I just started looking at those numbers, and I was like, that's crazy. And it doesn't seem like anyone's really prioritizing Table 2. And so that's why I started the podcast. I wasn't hearing, there's a lot of podcasts out there. I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear. I didn't hear anyone really forcing the issue. And so that's what I started, just to kind of bring light to what Table 2 carriers go through. So what I've been up to lately, I mean, a couple episodes, you know, I've talked about apathy. I think everyone in the union sooner or later gets a little apathetic. You know, it's two full-time jobs to be active in the union and carrying mail every day.
And
So
the carrier job is usually almost 2 full-time jobs in and of itself sometimes, depending on how many hours you're working. So
yeah, I'm in an AO, so I don't get bullied too much anymore. But yeah, it's
you
it's
don't work a lot of
exhausting.
hours out by you.
No, not me. I'm on the 8-hour list. Don't get forced all that often. But I am a full walking route. You know, it's anywhere. My phone will tell me 13. My watch will tell me 17 miles a day. So it's still exhausting.
Right.
It's
a lot.
So I've had a couple episodes on apathy. I've talked about. I had an interview with one of the guys. I don't name's okay. I mean, I had an episode with him. So yeah, I talked to Badmouth Morris. I've talked to him a couple times. He's a real nice guy. So I interviewed him just to get some of his thoughts. The idea was basically just to talk to rank and file Table 2 carriers and to push the agenda that they need to be prioritized because they're the ones falling through the cracks. They're the ones falling behind. Badmouth Morris had a very specific, was a very specific example of that. So lately I've been, we had 2 weeks worth of holidays and then I've been sick all week. So I've been laying low. I do have to record a very long episode tomorrow. So that's where I've been recently. Like I said, I'm just a carrier. So I'm allowed to criticize others, and I'm going to do that if I disagree with your platform or if I think you're not representing Table 2, because that's what I'm pushing. And so I'm gonna call a spade, and I plan on putting a target on my back, and that's okay. And I'll respond to that tomorrow in my episode, and we'll move forward.
Awesome. We'll look forward to that. And I'll definitely want to hear it when you had Mr. John Morris on Badmouth. He's always got something to say. So.
He does. He's great. I love him. I love his emotion. He's just it's great.
Yeah, he's kind of, you'll see him on Facebook, kind of a side note, but he'll post 46 things in one day. You're like, how does he do that? Yeah. here's a video, here's a clip, here's a link, damn, man. But
yeah, he's got some great ideas, and
he's got stuff to say. I love it.
He does always, and I like that. That's kind of the point. I want to hear from everybody. That's who I am. I think that's the union needs to be more democratic, and that's going to involve debate. It's going to involve conversation, and less gatekeeping, less silencing people, and so that's the whole point.
Yeah, I think that makes us a stronger union. But that's another show. But I agree with you 1,000% on that. All right, Harmon, what so far where are you at on this conversation? What are your thoughts? Let's bring you in. Let's bring in someone from a slightly higher cost of living area. What's the Table 2 experience look like in Boston, where the price of everything is so high?
I mean, I even hear Table 1 carriers complaining about cost of living over here.
Even at the top step.
Yeah, just because we always talk about money. I have a senior carrier next to me. A lot of the senior carriers in my station are starting to retire. They got their Christmas tips. We just went through an inspection and kind of got destroyed.
Oh wow.
Well, funny enough, the senior carriers got destroyed. I don't know. So it kind of seems like everyone's off of their game, but yeah, just Boston's expensive, and as some of the people in the Discord know, I've been looking for a house, which can't get a house in Massachusetts anywhere near Boston. So I went up to New Hampshire, was kind of looking over there, but then I'm like, I really don't want to leave my branch because the station I'm in, I can get as much OT as I want. They're not gonna let me go over 60. They'll leave the mail in before they let that happen. The local management will get chewed out, is from what they've told us. But yeah, I'll hit 60 hours a week.
It's flaw in the negotiations. We should have required them to ask for the ODL carriers to volunteer if the ODL carrier wants to volunteer beyond 12 or beyond 60 prior to either delaying the mail or forcing a non-ODL carrier to work.
During Christmas week, surprisingly, or the week before it, they person above our station manager. They call it an area manager, which isn't. I know some people say that's like but they're below the postmaster still.
CSOM or a POOM or something like that. It's pretty comparable. But go ahead.
Yeah, so he came over to me and was like, "Hey, what do your hours look like? It's your NS tomorrow." I'm like, well, I can only work 2 hours and then I'll be at 20 hours. He's like, do you want to come in tomorrow on your NS? You can leave early if you want.
What?
So at first I said no. I'm like, my car is going to be in the shop tomorrow, so I kind of don't want to. And then as soon as I hit the street, talk to my steward, and he's like, yeah, you should go in. I'll get you paid the guaranteed time.
Right. Good steward. Good
So
steward.
I'm like, you know what? I'll just go in for the whole day so I don't have to wait for that guaranteed time to get paid out and then the whole 60-hour, over 60 hours. So I ended up working 68 hours that week. And at that point, I had worked all of December straight. Most of it wasn't voluntary. So there's just a ton of OT, and that was one of my biggest checks, and it was $2,900 after deductions. So, and the average rent in my area is, I'd say, $2,000 for probably like a studio or a 1-bedroom. If, you know, and then I'm further out from Boston, like 20 minutes away with no traffic. So, you know, there's always traffic here. So I know as you get closer to Boston, it starts getting up to like $5,000 a month. And then if you want a decent place near me, it's $2,500. The affordable housing, I was looking at that. My income, I qualify, but if I have any sort of savings, I don't qualify because I'm at that border. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. But the rent for that is $2,300. Because they only make luxury apartments now. They don't make normal apartments anymore. So yeah, it's kind of just pushing the middle class out. The only thing I can afford is a condo, but then it gets sketchy because there was that one period I'm about to put in an offer, and then the next day I get put on limited duty. They're like, "Oh, your medical documentation says you can't carry," and it was BS. I'm back at full duty. I shouldn't have been put on limited duty, but then there's that thing in your head. They're like, well, if I get put on limited duty or something happens with my pay where I'm not allowed to do overtime, even though I'll get that grieved and get it back, how am I going to make a mortgage payment?
Right.
Like, all my money will be gone toward a down payment. Man. So now I'm back to kind of not really looking and trying to save up more, but it's tough.
That's the thing. I think, you know, we always kind of, when you talk to the new carriers, and I've been a union rep for a long time, and so I remember kind of the spiel, and the spiel was always that you would say, look, this is a hard job. It's a physical job. You're going to work your ass off. They harass the hell out of you, you know, but the but was like, okay, we get a lot of paid leave. If you add up, you know, sick leave, annual leave, holidays, and you get, you know, it's a very good retirement program. There's good benefits, and it's a solid middle-class job. And so you can do middle-class stuff, like buy a house, like take vacations, you know, that kind of thing. And the job now, that's, if you're telling people that are coming in, you're lying to them. That's not what the job, maybe, you know, 15 years down the road, it'll be that job. But the whole idea of buying a house, for example, is there's normally a 30-year mortgage. So, you know, you begin a job, it's a decent job. You're like, okay, now I can afford a house. And so then when you're ready to retire, the house is paid off, you know, and that's the whole benefit of the thing, right? And you put your time in and you work, but the benefit comes after a long career that you've given of your blood, sweat, and tears to the United States Postal Service and to the American people. And that contract or that deal just, it doesn't exist anymore for our new carriers. And you know, and people are rightfully pissed off about that. They should be. They should be.
The
It's
other issue in my
it's
area
janky.
is I know when the previous station I was in, it was a retirement station, as they call it, nice routes and everything, very rich area. I had to leave that station because every PTF that would get hired wouldn't bid out because they get sent somewhere. They'd see how bad those stations are, and then they would just stay. They'd bid the vacant routes. So that station, even after I left, is fully staffed. The only overtime is from injuries. But the Dunkin' Donuts over there that I used to deliver to, they had a sign up hiring at, I think it was $22 an hour. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, I'm making like 24 as a regular. My 40-hour paycheck after deductions is $1,100. I could probably make more working at Dunkin' Donuts, and I'd be inside getting tips and, climate controlled, bathroom right there. And it's just anybody new who's coming in, they don't really pay attention to the benefits. They're more looking at the upfront cash that they're going to get in their check, which is why I stayed, because I'm looking at the longer picture of, there's the benefits. Unfortunately, if I work a ton of hours, then I can get enough money to survive, but I'm lucky I can still stay at home. I don't really want to, but it's helping to save up, and every table one carrier I talk to just says, "No, kid, just stay at home. It's too expensive. It's not. Just keep saving up. You'll get there." So
Yeah.
And then we can't retain people because it's just we'll hire them. They'll either get abused by the supervisor by being put on the worst route after not being trained properly, because they only put them with the runners who don't know how to train people. So they don't want me training them. I'd teach them bad things, is exactly what a supervisor said when I asked them why can't I train somebody. So they don't know how to do the job. They get bullied, and they're like, "This pay isn't worth it. I'm just gonna go back to Amazon because they pay more than." And I haven't looked, but they're probably somewhere up there, 23 or 25 an hour, depending on the DSPs.
It's not always that. There are some jobs that pay more, but there's jobs. There's a lot of jobs that are comparable, where either the physicality, the level of responsibility, or the level of harassment is just nowhere near what we go through. And you're weighing those three things, and you're looking at a paycheck that is similar. And you brought up a point which was interesting, and a lot of people are talking about this, that the younger carriers are not looking at benefits. And part of that is, benefits is kind of it's for a career job, it's for a different kind of setup than we have right now. And I think that if you want to stop this whole thing of the revolving door and get that dependable service that I think the American people deserve and have come to expect, I think the starting pay has to go back to $30 an hour plus. Otherwise, we're just not going to get there. And I think that's the number one. That should be the number one goal of any contract negotiations with the Postal Service. There's other things that are important, but you say, well, what is the number one goal? I think that's what it is to me. I don't know. What do you guys think the number one goal in contract negotiations should be? Anybody have an opinion about that? What the number one goal? You got one, Adam? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tricky, right? Because as a president negotiating that contract, you obviously have to follow the national convention's bargaining positions. But yeah, I think that goal is pretty clear for me. I make it very clear. I think the two-tier pay scale breaks the union, right? A union that endorses anti-union policies like a two-tier pay scale, it's no longer a union. So now you're detrimental to table two carriers, but you're also destroying the union in how you break it into small factions. So Yeah, 100%. The top priority for me, and that's the whole concept of the table 2 ticket, is to get back onto table 1.
And I used to always say this, we have to close the gap, right? So you talk about breaking the union into divisions. When a letter carrier is doing the same job as you, is making more than twice as much as you, that's too big of a gap. That's crazy. And so closing the gap, there's only two ways to close the gap. You take the top and you bring it down, which I don't think nobody wants to do that, or you take the bottom and bring it up. And so that's why, to me, you gotta do the bottom and bring it up. And I don't know if we're ever gonna get, the table 1 chart. I don't know if that is the goal so much as, at least for me, the goal is to raise that starting pay and close that gap between the starting pay and the top pay, and then try to reduce the time as well that it takes. Harmon, you have some?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of know the post office will never raise the top or the bottom pay to what we want, but I guess the compromise could be, I guess it'd kind of be similar to the CCA type thing. The bottom steps, so what is it now? C and D, or whatever the new A and B is going to be.
The bottom
I
is
don't know if
B
they're
now.
still.
Step B is the
Yeah,
lowest step
so
in the career pay scale.
so you keep B as the same pay, but then once you hit, I'm step D. So like once you hit C, there's a bigger jump. That way, if the carrier is going to actually stick around and they can handle it, the post office doesn't see it as wasting their resources on a person that's just going to quit or whatever. I mean, that might be an
That
easier
part
way to
was
negotiate.
similar, right? Because in the old table 1 pay chart, like I was saying in the beginning, there'd be those bigger jumps at the beginning, and that might make more sense. Whereas right now, every step is the same amount. And there's like
Yeah,
there's like
which
$2,000 ish, like $1 an hour between steps. And what you're saying is, even if you couldn't win a higher starting pay, at least let's say the first 5 steps would be $2 an hour instead of $1 an hour, so you can close that gap a lot quicker.
or just make the middle more accelerated. Because I mean, once you hit step D as a carrier, you kind of know what you're doing. You're pretty much you have the experience. It would make sense to accelerate their pay at that point, make the step shorter. I mean, that's from experience wise, I guess that would make sense, but the post office doesn't do stuff that makes sense.
Yeah. You guys, Rivera, what's the cost of living like in San Diego? What's the experience like? Is there a big turnover? Is it mostly all career offices in San Diego area, or is they're still hiring CCAs?
We have a real strong CCA presence in over here in San Diego. They're still continuing to hire. We had 2 just come in last month, and thankfully they stuck through the holiday season. And it's just, but we do experience a lot of turnover, and a lot of the reasons is attributed to the way management handles them on an individual basis. The sporadic scheduling, the lack of training, and really the lack of representation early on. I think that all has been cited to me, because these folks come up to me and ask me, because they hear me and they know I kind of know my stuff, and they come up to me and talk to me and ask me, like, okay, how do I get paid for mileage using my vehicle? They want me to use my vehicle. They don't have their own vehicle. And I'm like, well, no, they should provide you a vehicle, but if you have to do this, you're going to have to fill out this form. And when they talk to a guy like me, and then they hear from a union rep that no, there is no such form, that's where there's a problem. Is when there are people that are here on the local level that aren't giving the CCAs the right information. And so they have to go to like senior carriers with 10 plus years experience. You got to look for that. But the unfortunate thing is that, as you know, the start times are later. So they don't get to always talk and pick the brains of other carriers. So there's not really that guidance. Cost of living, it's high. It's just like Boston. It's probably a little bit more.
I'm surprised they
gas
can
is-
still hire people as CCAs in a high cost of living area.
Yeah, it's
crazy
just-
to me. Like Northern
it's-
California is mostly they hire mostly all PT. You know, mostly all the offices are all career in like the Bay Area and stuff, and like the Boston area, they're all hiring straight to career. But wow, in Southern California, they're still hiring CCAs, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a totally different story down here. Yeah. So we definitely have a strong CCA presence here. And yeah, the cost of living is a big factor for people coming for retention. And right now, 2121 isn't cutting it. Really, I hear the word $30 an hour. You know, I think people would be happy just seeing it go up to 25, and because it'd be a substantial increase if you can go, you know, ask for 30, demand 30, and you settle at 25 starting rate. That's still something more than we probably have seen in years.
Hey, Rivera, you know, you and I have debated this a little bit, you know, just kind of like what would be the best strategy. But I got to jump in and say that a starting career clerk is making over $28 an hour now. And I'll be damned if I ever negotiate a contract where we're making less than a clerk, ever. It's
No.
not, I would never sign my name to that. I'm sorry. They're making $2.35 more than us at the starting career rate. To me, that's insane.
You see, that's the thing with you're talking about if you're doing a career carrier, let's say you ask for a wage increase across the board, wage increase 12%. You start CCAs at 25 when they become career, because we're going by career numbers, $28. They'll be up over $28 and maybe 10 cents.
Over the clerk rate when they become career.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying.
Exactly. But you start 25, that people will come and apply. People will show up for that CC position, and they may stick through it if you add that plus maybe give them more benefits, maybe a little bit more union protection early on. I would say union representation, full protection at the start of once they sign on.
Yeah,
that's just me though.
No, I like that. I hate that, whatever they call it, probationary period or whatever that is. How do you hire someone for a career job and then tell them they're at will in the beginning and they could be let go for any reason? And the post office proves it to you all the time. People don't do anything wrong and they get let go all the time just because they can. I don't think that's cool for a union job, you know. I wanna go into something else, like kind of more internal to the union, but I wanted to see if Ross or Renee or Sarah had any comments at this point in the show based on what you've heard so far.
Yeah, I got a couple things.
I didn't know you were over there taking notes, eating,
I was, yeah,
or taking a
both.
nap.
I
was not sure. I didn't realize you were taking a nap.
So if you go back to the first contract with the DOS award in 2013, right, and you look at what they started the CCAs at, and when they created that position, if you take their starting salary versus the top carrier starting salary, you get almost 60% of the top carrier's salary, right? So
between
whatever
$15 and
it was like 28 or 29. So you get about a 60%. Yeah. So it's CCAs were getting paid 60%.
I don't know about your math on that one, brother, because it was 15. DOS set the starting pay at $15 an hour. And if the top pay was like 29, that's almost half. That's like double.
60%. It's 60% of the top pay. Right?
No. It wouldn't be 60%. 60%.
It's 59 something.
Oh, it's like a little bit more than half.
It's like 59.2 or 59 point something. So it's almost 60%. So,
And what
but
is it
if
now?
you take 51%, so if you take the CCA starting wage and divide that by the top wage, top career carriers pay, you're at 51%, which, look, even if you just keep up with what they were doing in 2013, clearly they haven't done what they needed to do to keep the CCAs, competitive. I mean, you're missing almost 9% of pay that from 2013 to 2025. Where did that 9% go? Where did that 8% go? Like, did we just not give the CCAs the same amount of an increase that was needed to keep up with that salary in particular? A second thing,
Yeah, it was 27. It was 27.17 top pay.
Okay, so you
that
take
time.
the 15
divided by
It's
27.17.
55%.
Yeah, 55% in 2013, and then now it's
What was I looking at?
21.21 divided by like $40 an hour is 53.
41. Oh, well,
It's about
I
the
was doing PT. So I was doing PTS. So I was taking the PTS salary, because if you take the CCA salary, right, and you take that 15, they were getting paid, because we know PTS get that premium for not getting the holiday pay. So they're getting that extra, what seems like $2 in their paycheck. And so
Now
they're
they
the
do, yeah.
highest. Yeah, if you're a PTF at top step, which I don't know how many there are, but I can't imagine there's very many.
few.
I mean, but if you do that math, you're looking at almost a 60% for the top step PTF versus the tops then versus now. So you're looking at a difference in salary, I think, that should be addressed. Why is it that a PTF who doesn't have, I'm going to say there's very few examples of a full-time or a PTF that's at step P right now, but if they were,
let's do this. If you look at the pay chart
Mhm.
at the time of the DAS award, when I'm looking at it,
2013, right?
I don't know if someone can put it up on the screen for the people that are following along at home, but the starting PTF rate of pay was 22.15. 22.15 divided by the top was 28.25. And so 22.15 divided by 28.25 is 78%, meaning that when you started as a career employee, you were 78% to the top on day one. Now, if you look at the current pay chart, I believe that percent is going to be a lot lower, right? The pay chart now, PTF start at 26.28, right?
28. Yeah.
26.28 divided by
41.69.
41.65. What's that number?
Well, it's less than half.
26.28. That is not less than half. Did you pass math class, brother?
No.
It's
That's
60 something,
63,
65.
almost 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, 63%. So that is a clear example of the difference of how it used to be. You'd start off 78% to the top in the career status, and then you actually got raises. If you were in table one chart, you would get them raises front loaded, and you would close the gap a lot quicker. But now you're starting off at 63% to the top, and you're getting the incremental raises that are going real slow. It's always been real shitty if you start as a CCA, because $15 an hour was shitty money back then, and is in 21 is shitty money today.
Well, and you also have to, like you guys were saying, is the PTFs and the CCAs you know, they don't have the contractual protections that the regular carriers would. I very rarely hear, you know, when in 2013 the DOS award created the CCA position, they were the auxiliary assistants. Now it seems like the CCAs and the PTFs, if you hire straight to career in your office, they're no longer the auxiliary assistants. They're the ones that management is saying should be doing all of the work, you know. And obviously we go out there, we do our routes, we carry our mail, but it seems like management would rather hire a whole team of PTFs or a whole team of CCAs, but they can't because the salaries aren't competitive. And when you get into a situation where you hire a CCA, typically they're a younger carrier, you know, they're a younger individual. Even PTFs, for example, are younger, right? Well, what do younger people do? They get married, they start families, they have careers, right? But they might have young kids. So what happens when you get a PTF or a CCA who has a new baby at home, but gets 1 day off a week? You know, so you mess with their home life, which obviously as letter carriers experienced, we know that's a thing. We know that home life gets interrupted because our job is what our job is. But how do you entice a younger generation of people
Right.
into a position that has no work-life balance? You know, it's like,
and
hey, you got to
honestly,
be here 12 hours.
Honestly, brother, it never did. You know, it never did.
Right.
But you know, you were paid enough where some people even could have a one income household, which is unheard of in today's world. But you know, you were kind of if you were I don't want to anyway. You worked a lot of hours and you were always needed and always had to be available, but you could support your whole household based on that pay, which is now we're asking people to do that and they still can't support their household. So it's just not worth it. Adam, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna, you know, the whole concept of that gap is continuing to grow, right? Das, when he created that award, he specifically when he capped the colas and he made it a percentage of the income. His reasoning, or the reasoning they put out there, was so that that pay scale didn't condense and didn't get closer together, which it didn't really, because there were percentage bases, and obviously at the top of the pay scale, the same percentage as the bottom, the top's going to go up faster because they're already much higher. But that COLA that everyone got that was the same kind of kept them in the same boat. So if you go back, you'll notice that the pay gap from the beginning to the end, like the starting pay to the top pay, it was always right around $5 an hour, right? It was always like 20 grand. It stayed there for a long time.
Right, because the cost of living allowance dollar-wise was the same number.
Exactly. And so,
now,
you know,
percentage-wise is the
top
same.
percent or top pay would get 2%, bottom pay would get 2%, top would go up faster. But then that COLA kind of kept that gap consistent because, you know, COLA, if it's $1,000, it's more percentage for the bottom, less percentage for the top. So it kind of evened those out. What he did was create that gap. He basically made it much faster. That gap is growing exponentially fast because of that cost of living adjustment. Now 2%, if top pay gets 2% or 1.3, and bottom gets 1.3, top is obviously going up much faster because they're at a much higher number. So 1.3 of 80K is going to be much higher than 1.3 of 60 or 40K. So they're going up much faster. But on top of that, the cost of living adjustment, because it's now proportional, they're getting even more at the top pay. So that's why that gap keeps growing.
Yeah, if you figure that a cost of something, you know, we talked about buying a house, so you name anything, right? The cost of something is the cost of that. How close is my pay to getting to that cost? Well, if his top pay is 80,000 and I'm at 50,000, I'm $30,000 away. You know, the percent might be the same, but I'm physically that amount of money away from getting where I need to be. And I think generally over the years we have looked at the job as, you look at top pay and you say that's generally what we think is a fair salary, and you got to kind of earn that. You got to get there. but we've set up this system now, or none of us did it, but it's set up now where it's not attainable, and you can't live that letter carrier lifestyle like I was alluding to before, where it's like, hey, you work a lot, but it's there's a lot of benefits on the other side, and the pay is decent, but you just can't get there for so many years, and then even when you do get there money wise, when you start making, let's say 80,000 or whatever, you've dug yourself in such a hole, over time, running up debt or whatever, because you just didn't make enough money. And it's just, anyway, it's just not sustainable. It's not the job that was, that we kind of promised people. And we have to take up that fight now, right? Because for the next generation of letter carriers that's coming in, we got to take up that fight. And that's what I wanted to bring up. And Adam, I know you got the table 2 ticket, and which is, I think, good, trying to shine light on the thing. How do we change our union? 2026 is an election year. Obviously I'm running for president, but there's people running for all type of positions, right? And I would like to see, I'm pretty confident if you go into the executive council of the NALC, the leadership body of the union that is supposed to run the union on a day-to-day basis, there's 28 people. I think there's 0 that are table 2 carriers. I think that number 0, maybe I'm mistaken. I would have to go and look a little closer, right? But I think that number 0. And so you look at people that are potential candidates, and I know, Adam, you're going to want to talk about this, so I'll kind of try to lay it out a little bit and then turn it over to you. But, how do we get there? Because, of course, you want your union reps to be people that, hey, that they have experience. There's certain things you're looking for out of a union rep, but damn, I got 2 issues with our leadership. One is the amount of our union reps that haven't carried mail in forever, that have no idea what's going on the workroom floor. And the second thing is the number that only had the table 1 experience and did not have the table 2 experience, which, as we're talking about today, is a completely different experience to go through. And it changes you. It changes your mindset. So where are you at with that, Adam?
Again, you ask some wide open questions, man. That's a wide topic.
Trying to give you a chance, man.
I can't cover it all, and that's like 6 episodes. You're taking all my content here. There's a lot of different ways to reshape it, right? You open it up, first of all. You grant access. I mean, there's branches out there that don't have access. There's offices out there that don't have access to input through their branch, right? They can't. Either they're
You're talking about, is that concept they call gatekeeping?
Yeah. Basically, I mean, if your branch doesn't allow Zoom and you're disenfranchising members that are hundreds of miles away because they're in your branch, but they're so far away they're never going to attend a meeting. That's
participation and all that. Okay.
Yeah, give them access. So open it up to the rank and file membership. First of all, that's democracy. Everyone should be able to have a voice in everything that we do, right? Every branch decision, every MOU. Everything. So, I'm all about having more access for the rank and file. Should be asked, they should be surveyed, they should be polled, get their opinion on everything. Apart from that, I was talking to my college buddies, and immediately they were like, so why don't you just make all the guys that are on the executive council or MBAs or any position within the union, like make them go back and carry mail, like
You're here, brother.
Like a week a month, like 1 week a month or a day a month or something. And I was
whatever you guys say.
That's an idea. That's an idea. Again, these things are complicated again, because these are all things that would have to, the union is 200,000 members. So these are ideas that you can put out there, but the membership really has a decision to make, right? There has to be a motion. It's got to go through the national convention. You have to change bylaws. You got to change the national.
And I'm telling you, man, were you at the national convention in Boston?
I was not. No.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's it doesn't resemble the workroom floor. And so 100%. The people that are making those decisions, they may not vote in the same way that your coworkers, your fellow letter carriers would vote if given a chance, because our structure is, the convention is the supreme body of the NALC. And so how do we get change if the people that are voting on the potential change are not the ones that have the same perspective as the people that would potentially vote for that change? You know what I mean? I think
100%.
that's a
Yeah,
challenge.
it absolutely is. You get someone, I would imagine you get someone to run for a position of power. And then from that position of power, the way things work now, from that position of power, you can kind of push towards the branches and push out there that information that, like, hey, rank and file, if you don't like how your branch is specifically working right now, these are the simple steps to change it. And that information is like, I mean, it's out there. You can go read about it. But like national doesn't push that information. People in positions of power don't generally push that information because they're already in positions of power. And so they don't really want the change. They want the status quo. They want to keep their power. And so I guess you vote into positions of power, people who want to change the system. And from there you kind of force it outwards onto the smaller branches. I mean, not force it onto them, but give the information to the rank and file how they can do it, and empower the rank and file, empower the majority, table 2 for example, empower them and teach them how to make changes at the local level that will eventually impact the contract and everything up national.
I know most branches will have the elections for delegates to the 2026 convention at the end of 2025. I haven't seen a lot of, someone that would be running and say, hey, I want to change the makeup of what our delegation looks like when we go to Los Angeles, and therefore I'm running, and I'm gonna encourage all of the people that work here to come to the next union meeting so they can vote for me, because I'm running to be a delegate, and I'm going to bring a different perspective to that convention next year. I haven't seen a whole lot of that. Maybe some of that is going on out there, but I haven't seen a whole lot. Have you guys seen any of that? Harmon?
So, as you know, I'm in a big branch,
Yeah.
and we don't even have to do an election for our delegates because we never fill up all of it. Like, I
Did you
think we
sign up?
have. I did not. I kind of regret it. I'm gonna have to talk to my president, see if I can get in. But we have 128 spots, and I don't even think we have 50 people signed up. So it's just, I mean, my reasoning was money. I'm pretty sure I've attended enough meetings where the branch would cover it, but they're not covering me losing the overtime when I go there.
Not just that, most branches, bigger branches, don't even cover all of your expenses. Conventions have
Yeah.
gotten, we talked about this on one of the episodes, I forget which one, but I forget who else we had one of the guests on and we were talking about it, but the cost of the conventions has gone up, and most branches have not adjusted their kind of, their financing or their allocation to the convention fund or whatever to keep up with the modern times. And I mean, that would be a huge deterrent. You're talking about, are you going to have carriers at the lower end of the pay scale coming to the convention to vote on the issues and the direction of the union? Well, not if they got to pay out of pocket to lose all this money to go to Los Angeles. That's no way. That ain't going to work.
Well, and then the other thing I've noticed is the common thing I hear, because I jumped around a lot of stations when I first started trying to find, the one spot. And the common thing with the new people is either they don't even know what the union is, or they're just like, oh, they just do stuff to get out of carrying. They get paid to go sit in an office and they're just playing on their phone or whatnot. Um, the steward is my friend, so I know what he's doing. He's working off the clock on grievances and stuff to make them perfect, and it's just they kind of don't know
The
what the
communication is
union
not
does.
there. So I just thought of it just now, and I haven't seen this. There's a lot of resolutions and amendments that I've seen to the national convention next year this year now in Los Angeles. We're in 2026 now, but this one I haven't seen. Give me some feedback. What do you guys think? And there's a lot of talk about Zoom meetings. I think Adam, you just brought it up. The section of the Constitution that governs the branches, right? The way it works is you have that section of the Constitution says that the branch is a subordinate branch of the NALC, and the branch will collect 2/3 of the dues money, and the branch is its own entity. However, the branch must have its own bylaws and constitution and follow these rules. So like one of the rules is the branch must identify when and where the meetings are going to be. The branch must have elections and notify the members of when those elections are going to be. The branch must have at least 10 meetings a year, etc. Right? There's these requirements on the branch. Should there be a requirement on the branches that they have at least a Zoom option for the members of that branch to view or participate, but at the minimum view what's going on at that general membership meeting? Would that be a good change to the Constitution? What do you guys think, Ross?
Well, I think that would be a good change. I mean, as an office, Moline's the big office in the branch, and we have 5 or 6 offices. They're not 100 miles away, but they're 20, 30 minutes. And after working 8, 9, 10 hours and then having to go to a union meeting that might be another hour, 2 hours, like I understand people just want to get home. If I'm on Zoom, I can sit in my pajamas on a couch and listen to the meeting, and still be an active participant, but still be there and present for the family if something needs to happen. Right. Because as we go back to the original thing, a lot of these CCAs and PTFs are younger people who are going to start families, who, may have young kids, may have other commitments. If you have a baseball game in the summer and it's on a Thursday night and it's the same as your branch meeting and your kid's playing for the championship, well, what do? Do you go to the branch meeting or do you go to the kids' championship? How much of your life do you dedicate to the union? And how can you effectively do that if you also have other commitments? But I think to take it one step further, I don't even think it's just Zoom meetings. I think like any of these trainings that National wants to put on, why? So like the branch officer training that they're doing at National, or they used to do, why can't you do that over Zoom? Why do you have to have a branch officer training and the branch has to pay $2,000 to go to just the training?
You can have tutorials and TED Talks over Zoom, but training and like it's participatory. You have to kind of be there. Now there's a lot better ways of doing it that would be more cost effective. I agree with you, but
do them regional or
say everything could be on Zoom. I don't think that's.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily everything, but make the materials, even if it's, hey, I can't get out to DC for the training. Our branch can't afford it or whatever.
Make stuff more accessible for sure. What about the national convention? Anyone can go to the national convention as a guest. Why don't we just live stream the thing? Anyone can go as a guest. What is the secret? You have to travel there. Like when it was in Chicago in 2022, I was encouraging, a lot of kids, hey, just go. If you get a day off, whatever, you can just go as a guest and see it. And it's an incredible thing. And it brings you into the union because now you're seeing that aspect of how the union works. Why are we not live streaming the thing so that everyone can see what it looks like, not just those that are delegates and those that are paid their money to go as guests? I don't know why we wouldn't do that. Anybody got any other ideas? Harmon?
Wait, I wanted to say something. I know you can't see my hand.
You didn't raise your hand, Renee. No, you didn't raise your hand. We didn't see
that. My thumb is up if you look at the picture. So
as long as it's not the middle finger. Go ahead.
But no, it was something that Ross, when you keep saying that you see a lot of like when the younger people are coming in, stuff like that. I'm seeing like total opposite now. I see a lot of older people that are starting the post office that are like 50 up, and
all the time. It's sad.
They're like quitting, like, when I'm not gonna say, like, I had a guy in one office who quit recently because he said that he couldn't handle the grievance system ran office, is what he said. And he didn't like a lot of the other stuff that was going on, but he said that he started the post office at 52 thinking that this was just going to be like an easy job for him to coast into, until he was in his 60s, but it's not what he thought that it was going to be. And then you have, like I said, a lot of other people who are starting like in their either late 40s or early 50s, where management is like forcing them out because they're saying that they're not working up to their standards because they're not moving as fast as like someone who may be younger who starts. So I haven't seen I'm just seeing more and more of the older people who are coming through the door,
Yeah, I'm
especially in
with
the
you. I see that
PTF
all the time.
offices
It's rough.
for the insurance. So
The insurance or some try get some semblance of retirement. I mean, you can't get a whole lot, but you work 5, 10 years, get a little bump on their retirement. You see it all the time, and it's like, man, this is a very physical job. But some people are able to do it. I don't think we should discriminate for sure. But anyway, Harmon, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, kind of jumping back to the Zoom. I know our branch tried to do it a few times, and the common thing that it comes back to is, well, we don't want management to get a hold of what we're talking about. And some of the stuff we talk about at branch meeting is strategy against management. So there is that stuff, but there seems to be no other alternative kind of offered. And then the other downside, at least for branch meetings, is it will discourage more people from actually showing up in person. Like, it takes me an hour and 15 minutes to get to our branch meeting. And like I said, I'm only 20 minutes outside of Boston, but our meeting starts at 7 and traffic is backed up from Boston to my town. And yeah, it's just a parking lot all the way there. So it's just kind of, if you can just do it via Zoom, why would you go in person? And then it comes down to that's not going to count as a quorum, depending on how you do your rules.
I think there's something there's kind of two different things. The meeting is a business meeting. I mean, everyone doesn't call it that, but I think that there's meetings and then there's like rap sessions, gatherings of letter carriers. And I think you can gather the letter carriers and have a good strategy session and figure out how you're going to deal with certain issues and management and all of that. And you don't have to. You might not want to zoom in or whatever, but think about the concept that you're a member of the union. You pay your dues to the union. The local union gets 2/3 of your dues money, and you're being restricted as far as the access to seeing how that money is being spent and the things that are happening. I have a problem with that. And I think if you're concerned about what information is shared, then start holding rap sessions and other things that you can kind of do it that way. That's my thought on it, but I don't know. Adam, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up playing devil's advocate basically against myself because I'm all about that Zoom. But yeah, I'm sure there's branches out there that are small enough that $16 Zoom account may weigh on them. I don't know what our smallest branch out there is. Maybe
One
3.
member.
That's what I thought. So like if you put it into like a national constitution that you're gonna have a Zoom meeting every month, like for
Right.
one member, that doesn't make any sense.
I guess maybe you could say if you make an amendment, you'd say
so many people.
if there's a minimum of 25 members, or you set a number, that would make sense.
On top of that, there is a balance, right? Because I don't want to go fully online. It does destroy some of that brotherhood, some of that, like our branch meetings. Again, you call them business meetings. That's the kind of the purpose, right? To accomplish the business of the union.
Right.
But then we afterwards, a lot of us hang out, get a drink and chat and discuss things. And so I don't want to destroy that. So there is definitely a balance between having it on Zoom for the people that can't make it versus having it on Zoom and destroying that in-person brotherhood, that in-person gathering of minds to discuss things. So there's definitely a balance there. I don't know how you attack it, whether you say, hey, we'll just host on Zoom and you can't vote on things, or you can't participate, or we're going to just record it on Zoom or whatnot. That's a great question, but that's
what we do. My branch 11 in Chicago, Zoom is open to all the members, but you're just viewing the meeting. You're not participating. And I would see like the national convention, if we live streamed it, it's kind of the same thing. Like you can see what's going on, but you're not a delegate. I mean, if you want to participate in the decision-making process, you got to show up. I think that's a good way of doing it, but maybe that doesn't work for everybody. I don't know. All right. What anything else that we want to talk about? That's about all I have as far as notes and questions and stuff. Adam, it's you, man. And let's do this. Let's Adam go to you, and then we'll go around to everybody and give everyone a chance, to say whatever they want to say at this point. Is that good?
Sure. Yeah. I was going to go back to your idea of trying to, how do you change that, the makeup? How do you make the makeup of the National Convention look more like the membership?
And the executive council and the leadership and all that. Yep.
Exactly. One of the things, I mean, I haven't been to actually a national convention. And so from what I hear, the age is significantly higher than the majority of carriers. And so I don't know if somewhere you put in there the fact, I always found it a bit strange, hypocritical, just strange that the people that go to the national convention decide our bargaining positions, right? That's generally where those are decided by the national convention, the supreme
I know where you're
body.
going with this. Go ahead.
Do you? Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
you
I
can
know where
take
you're going.
over
Go
if you
ahead.
want.
No. I want to hear from you. Go ahead.
I find it strange that a bunch of retirees will go and be delegates to the national convention, a convention that decides our bargaining positions on a contract that does not affect them, right?
And they're precluded from voting on if there's like a tentative agreement or something.
Exactly. Yes.
Retirees
Yeah, they
specifically can't vote on it, but
Correct.
they can vote at the convention to set our bargaining goals.
Not only that, they can vote. They can vote on people in positions of leadership who then negotiate the contract, right? So they're deciding. I don't remember who said it back in the day, but it was basically like, you can pick the winner of a race as long as I can pick the two people racing. Like, they get to decide on all the input for the contract. They just don't get to vote on the contract itself. And it seems hypocritical. And it's like, you understand the fact that they're not allowed to vote on the contract. That means you understand that they don't have skin in the game on the contract. So they shouldn't have a vote on that. But they're allowed to make all these decisions that will affect the contract, despite the fact that they don't have skin in the game. So yeah, I don't know how you go about changing that, whether you I don't know. I guess you could theoretically, no. I was thinking you could make a bylaw at a local branch that says delegates to the national convention will not be retired, but I think that would probably violate the national constitution. So
it
that
would
might
definitely
not work.
violate the national constitution as is written now. I mean, you can always every convention is an opportunity to relook at things and that kind of thing. The conventional wisdom is you don't want to change the Constitution too much, but we're in a situation where the Constitution needs to change.
Yeah.
It might not all need to change in 2026, but we got to start going in that direction because we see the problems. Most of the members of the union pay their dues, but they're not involved in the union, and most of the decisions and stuff are not really what they want, kind of thing.
It's a multifaceted issue, right? I know Michael Rivera down there has mentioned that the NALC is kind of a microcosm of the U.S. Political system. It's the same idea. We have a lot of people that have made the union and union positions a career path, and it's kind of incentivized that way, right? They make more money, they do less physical labor, they have weekends off. I don't know, but it's become a career
most
path.
Saturdays, not most Sundays.
Okay.
Having been a union official for a lot of years, we always got something going on a damn Sunday.
Makes sense. But it's become a career decision, and we've had people in positions of power for a very long time.
Yeah, that was the thing I brought up. I hate that. I hate when I hear someone say their union career. I'm like, what the fuck is a union career? Sorry.
Yeah.
It angers me.
And again, I don't know if people want to change. Again, it should have come from the rank and file. And given the fact that the rank and file is now, or the majority is now table 2, probably on the younger side, maybe they want to change these things. Maybe they want to put term limits on. Maybe they want to put an age gap on. Or again, if they want people to carry mail every once in a while, that'll probably cut a few people out of positions that they've been holding on to for a very long time. But yeah,
hey Adam, here's where I want to plug. So if you go on the Care for Pres website, careforpres.org, there's a tab that has, I don't know what it's called, but it's the conventions and resolutions, the resolutions and amendments that are out there already. And what I would say is that every member is a member of a branch, and every branch has at least 10 meetings of the year, and every member can bring up whatever they want at those meetings. and having a discussion on those proposed amendments and resolutions at your branch meeting, because you might not have a chance to be a delegate and go to Los Angeles, but you can certainly have those debates and discussions at your branch meeting so that the delegates that do go from your branch at least know how the branch feels if the branch adopts a particular resolution or amendment. You know what I mean? Then you're able to have influence. Well, if your branch adopts a resolution, now you're not a delegate, but your branch takes a position on something. Now you have influence over that convention that you might not be at and might not be a delegate of, but you're still involved in the process. And so I would encourage as many people as can and want to check out those resolutions and amendments and start bringing them up at their branch meetings. That's why we put them on the website, so people can see them and look at them and vote on them and discuss them, at their meetings. So sorry I jumped in on you there, brother.
No, it's fine. It's just again, that goes back to the fact that my branch in particular has maybe a 1, maybe 2% participation rate at meetings, and so bringing these ideas, these resolutions up at a branch meeting doesn't accomplish anything because it doesn't hear from the branch.
No. I'm gonna disagree with you on that, because let's say the branch the participation at the meetings is low. All that means is that if you bring 10 of your coworkers to the meeting, you guys can win the vote. Like that should not preclude someone from trying to push a particular resolution or amendment that they feel strongly about, because all that means is you can win that vote.
It's true.
Change the dynamics of the meeting.
Yeah, it was more referring to the fact that it's not hearing from the branch. It's not hearing from the branch, the rank and file. Our meetings, is those resolutions come from the 18 people that go. And that's, I guess, the steward's job is essentially to bring those, but some offices don't have stewards. So
no, I'm saying any branch can submit a resolution, and any member of a branch can go to their branch meeting and say, I want to submit this resolution on behalf of our branch. And then the branch is going to discuss it and vote on it. So, I mean, I was just kind of saying everyone has that power to do that at least. Not saying that solves our problem, but at least that moves us a little bit in the direction we want to go in here. Anyway, I like debating with you, man. We got to do this more often.
We might just have a different idea of how some branch meetings work. I don't know. I haven't been to many branch meetings, and so I guess you'll see, right? You'll see in
I'll be there February the 4th, I think.
So
looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, while I got you, Adam, are you I'm fine with it either way. Are you planning on running for office in 2020?
Yeah.
What is a table 2 ticket in your mind? It's like, are you going to have like you and 27 other people run
all table 2 carriers? I would not be opposed.
I'm not opposed either.
I've mentioned before, it'll come down to, what the listeners want, what the rank and file. I'll put a poll or a survey out there and see if they want me to run closer to the convention. Running right now, I mean, putting a label on it, first and foremost, I can't run right now. As been mentioned before, I've put in an application for a supervisor position within the last 2 years. So technically I can't run right now, but running right now is really just a useless label, because running is at the convention, you're nominated, and then then there's an election. That's the running procedure. Like, a lot of people are confused on whether or not Brian Renfro is going to run. I'm like, there's no reason for him to announce it right now, because then you have questions on if he goes and travels and he gives like a speech, is it a campaign speech? And do we have to be worried that he's using our dues as a campaigning, or is this an official duty, right? The Hatch Act concept. And so, I plan on putting my name out there. I'm going to continue.
Not a Hatch Act, but it's not a Hatch Act. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I said Hatch Act concept, right? The Hatch Act concept is that you're using money that you got it from the general constituency to campaign. So that it would be the same idea. They're using our dues money to go out there and campaign. And so that's one of the reasons they wouldn't announce right now. That's why you're not going to see a lot of other MBAs announce right now, because they're going to be traveling and they don't want to bring into question whether they're using our dues to campaign or whether they're using our dues on official business. That's the concept of the Hatch Act. So, I plan on, I'm going to put my name out there. I have, a lot of people that have reached out to me, and we'll get there at some point, and I'll ask the membership, and I'll ask the people that listen and talk to, and I'm open to anyone, what if they want me to run. But the whole idea is really to bring more awareness to the plight of table two, and hopefully, you know, Bernie style. If I get one of your guys' campaigns to adjust your platform and prioritize table two, I'm good with that too. Anything that forwards table two, I'm all about.
Yeah, I thought about it. The last time we updated our platform, I did put a couple little changes in there, but I was thinking about after we talked last time, next time I update the platform, I really want to go more in depth about the difference between the table one experience and the table two experience and the pay and, you know, a lot of things we've talked about here today. So this discussion has been helpful to me on that, at least on that aspect. So I appreciate that, brother. And I'm in favor of more people running that want to. I like the ranked choice voting system, which would require a change in the Constitution, but in order for us to do, in order to get as many candidates as you want, the ranked choice voting system allows people to have an alliance. They say, Adam, we want to get a table two person in there, but my second choice is whoever. And then we see if you get 50% of the members to back you. And if you don't, your votes can go to another candidate that, you know, may have similar interests that you have or similar perspective. So I hope we're able to change the Constitution this year to get the ranked choice voting system. Maybe we don't get it this year, we get it sometime in the future, but it would allow for us to have more candidates and still make sure that at least the support of whoever wins that election is from at least 50% of the members that are voting. So I think that'd be cool. Harmon, we're going around like final thoughts or anything we missed or something you want to add into the conversation.
Kind of the main thing that I feel like is kind of starting, I guess, know how to explain it, but the people who get hired, I feel like they're kind of being left out, like they're not being treated the same and stuff, and you know, the lack of union representation. So I know when I was hired, no one really wanted to talk to me. They would just my OJIs, he's like, yeah, you're the 10th person we've had. The last 8 quit.
Right.
He's like,
It's hard to
"No,
pay.
they
It's hard to
didn't
pay attention to the new carrier if you don't think the new carrier is going to be there much
even-" Yeah.
longer.
So they kind of get ignored, and then, you know, they feel that, and then they don't get involved with the union. They become friends with management and, you know, follow their bad habits.
Well, there's another thing. I'm not just go back to you in a second, but there's another thing we didn't talk about here today, and everyone is making a big deal about 204Bs, and we just don't like it. But one of the reasons why people go become 204Bs at the lower, you know, when they start as a carrier is because it's a huge pay jump, huge,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it didn't used to be that way. And it's like, you want me to stand on my principles and lose $30,000 a year? You know, it's anyway, it's a factor, it's a variable that comes into play a lot now. We see a lot of new carriers wanting to be 204Bs, and they're really bad at it, but you know, that's why. Well, go ahead, Armin. I'm sorry, brother.
My supervisor, because you can look up their pay, he in Boston they start at 83,000.
Just started, and think if you're a CCA,
But now they
making,
get 5% more. That was before our contract went
before
into
the
effect.
yeah. But think about it. If you're in the low end of the pay scale, you know, you're making $45,000, $50,000 a year, whatever, and you can get, like I said, a $30,000 increase, and you don't have to go outside every day. Yeah, there's really no whatever.
My supervisor, I've said it to him on the floor. They didn't like that. They're not going to do anything about it, but I'm like, I work 60 hours a week for almost this entire year, and I'm making just slightly more than a supervisor would make as straight time. And that's like the lower
who has
level
worked?
supervisor.
We're talking about work 0 hours every week. You're
Yeah,
working 60,
the
they're
most
working
work
0.
they do is sell the overtime to us and figure out, and then basically dump everything on the closing supervisor, who then just says, do the scans and bring it back, and then probably goes and falsifies all the scans at the end of the night. But to go back to the original thing I was saying is we're kind of not focusing on the new people. I know there's a bunch of podcasts about training and stuff, but I feel like they kind of missed the mark because they don't know what the new people go through. Like, at least in my installation, there's so many people in the installation. You're just another person that kind of gets lost. And the older carriers, the same thing. They see so many faces, they don't focus on it. Half the time they're being forced a ton of overtime when they're not on the list. So they're just like, why isn't this new guy doing it? He's bringing mail back, and then I have to do mail because they give him less work. And they kind of just get ignored. So it's creating that whole effect where now they're just doing whatever management says. And then the top end is starting to retire, and the replacements aren't very good. And it's kind of like what Amazon does, where they keep the year one people and then try to get rid of the higher pay people. And it seems like the post office is trying to head in that direction, where I've noticed that they come after the more senior people, like the troublemakers, aka me. And then the new people, they kind of take care of them. And at one point, there were orders that they cannot fire new people at all. Their probation didn't mean anything. They would not fire them. I think the installation's a little better staffed now, not my office for some reason. So they're probably not enforcing that anymore. But I know my friends who started way earlier, he said during COVID and a few years after COVID, this kid had a rollaway and the 2-ton slammed into a house. They didn't fire him. They didn't even give him a 14-day. They just they just said you can't drive anymore, and had him do a walk out of the station to deliver. And I've kind of seen it. Some people are not very good at their jobs. Had a PTF. He's like 50 or something. Asked me you just throw this letter away because it's no good, right? I'm like, no, you put it in the UBBM. And I just go to the steward. I'm like, I don't know. I'm assuming he was going to throw it in the trash.
What's his plan?
Because he was at the throwback case. And I'm like, that's a non-profit. You're not supposed to put it here. You just put it in the UBBM. And also, you're not the regular on the route. So how do you know if that's bad mail? But
don't get Sarah started. She's an academy instructor. She'll get all worked up over there.
So the academy instructors I know are good, but I mean, you're in there for a few days and getting blasted with tons of information. You're not going to retain it. And then when you end up at the station, and I've noticed this at 2 different stations, they don't let me train the people, even though the union has agreed to let me do it. I don't know what the exact procedure is, but I was supposedly signed off to do it. The person who runs a route was also signed off to do it. And the person who runs a route got all the training and is training the new people. And then I bid a different station, and it's the same process. They don't want
the
me.
Union. The process is supposed to be that the union proposes the names, and management has the right to cross off any name that they don't want to use as an OJ.
Yeah. So, and that process is failing us because they're not going to let someone like me, who, even when I get written up, it gets tossed because I know the contract and I know how to get out of it. And the new people, they're just taught to dump the mail in the box and keep going, throw the packages onto the porch, just get it done as fast as possible. Don't read names, who cares? Forwards, that doesn't matter, just deliver everything. And then that continues the cycle of making us look bad. And, why are we going to give a raise to these people who can't even properly deliver paper? It's kind of...
I think what you're bringing up, Harmon, is just a reflection of the non-career aspect of the job and the high turnover rate. And so, new carriers are not getting the attention that they deserve, I think, from our union and from their fellow carriers as a result of those 2 aspects of it.
Yeah, and the training program's not even...
well, the training program should be run by us, and it's not. So that's
if we're letting management decide that it doesn't matter what rules we make in the training program, they're just going to put their favorite person who does anything and everything they tell them in charge of training the person.
Yeah.
Which then leads to the continuous bad cycle. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just taking the Amazon strategy with the whole pay and everything and just trying to churn and burn people because it's cheaper labor that way.
Churn and burn. All right, appreciate that, man. Rivera and then Ross, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. Renee just texted me; she got to go soon. So,
Oh, okay, I keep it short then.
hey, that's when you're at your best.
Yeah, it's extremely imperative that we redistribute the power to table 2 and pry it away from table 1 and retirees. We need to do this by uniting ourselves over together for a resolution to have Zoom access to open, and I do believe in a national amendment, a new to have the branches require Zoom access. If it becomes a financial issue, I believe national could find a way, or the regional offices can find a way to maybe offer support. I also believe that training should not come. Training should come directly from the region and be solicited through things like media, like the Postal Record, where it gets to every members, instead of going to branches where it just reaches a dead end and they pick the people they want to pick to get that type of training. I think training should be open for all members of the union. And that we should, and that's how we educate our members, and that's how we get a more active workforce, because there's more opportunities for carriers, for members to be involved and to see upward mobility. Whether it's not a union job, but it's at least participation, feeling of empowerment. I also believe that a way that we can fix things is by, well, just, you were talking about 204B supervisory roles for carriers who, can't physically do the job anymore, and they need a pipeline. And I also believe that we should have right to first refusal. Right to first refusal for any introduced in collective bargaining should provide carriers another avenue to get into management positions, across operations positions, and start to slowly siphon away some of those table 1 carriers and put them in positions where they feel more financially advantaged, and it gives more power distributed to the table 2.
What's the right of first refusal?
Right of first refusal is offering jobs within the postal service to two carriers, to people within the postal service. And the first refusal should go with our craft employees, such as the city letter carriers. They should have a right to apply and to be considered for positions within management and operations that they're qualified for.
I got you.
It would, yeah. So just tons of overhead and saves a lot in onboarding. So I think that with those measures, I think we could achieve, on top of with the raise and that I mentioned earlier. That's still a suggestion I have out there. Keep it within reason. No one's going to give you 40% increase, but they definitely give you something that's arbitrable. 12% doable. But yeah, I think it's really important that come in this year, 2026, whatever movement that has an agenda, has a platform, that has a goal set come convention time, start taking a tally about who involved within that movement has a ticket to convention. We need to know who exactly is going to show up at convention, and we need to organize and be ready and know what resolutions we want to advocate for. We got to go ahead and get active on our branches, make sure that those are in play, and then stay united when we go into convention and work the floor and convince our retirees and table 1 carriers that this is the right way to make a difference. That's all I got.
All right, brother. Great. Ross?
So we talk about like table 1 versus table 2, but in reality, like if it wasn't for table 1, our union wouldn't be where it is today. So to me, it's not about, I mean, yes, it's about making the wages similar or the same so that nobody feels like they're doing less of a job than someone who did it 10 years ago. But it's about taking the foundations that were built by, let's say, the retirees or the Table 1 carriers, and taking those foundations and expanding upon them. You know, I hate to see a union, you know, divided by a pay scale, right? Like, what is the purpose of a union, right? It's to fight for better wages, working conditions, safety, you know, all of those things. It's the goal of the union. And so somewhere along the way, it became, all right, it's us versus them within our own union. And I don't think that is going to get us, it's not going to get us the strength, and it's not going to get us the support. You know, I'm talking about Table 2 carriers. If it's constantly in us versus
It's divisive.
them.
It's divisive.
Yeah, we have to figure out how we can operate within, you know, how can the carriers that start today be satisfied with their job and their career and their pay and their benefits, just like carriers 35 years ago that started were content with their benefits and their pay. And, you know, as a union, I don't think we should ever be content, right? We should always be moving the needle. We should always be trying to be proactive rather than reactive. And I think when you talk about Table 1 versus Table 2, I think you see a lot more, like, you could say Table 1 is a little bit more reactive than proactive. And there's a reason, right? Like, they've been through it. And they see that, look, you know, our grievance process is not a process anymore. It's kind of just, we do whatever we need to do to make sure the grievance gets filed, and then we wait. You know, so, like, that's not a process. You know, that's, we file a grievance and then wait. If it was a process, it would be functioning, but it doesn't function, you know? So the membership sees that and gets discouraged, right? What happened to, you know, 20 years ago when I talked to some of my carriers and they say, man, this job, I lined up at the fairgrounds to take a test to get this job. I was on a wait list of 150 people. Now there is no wait list. I mean, we could post a job and nobody applies for it. You know, it could get posted for 3 months in a row and nobody applies for the job. What happened to the post office that, you know, used to be so, like, the job used to be desired, the career used to be desired? What happened to it? Like, and I think if we can answer those questions, you know, we can come together no matter where you're at in the pay scale or what you're getting paid and where you're at, and realize that the whole point of this is that we have to fight together, not apart. And then a second thing about, you know, we talk about the administrative side of our union being, you know, mostly Table 1.
We're just spitballing here, brother. We're just spitballing.
I know, but I know, but it's like, you know, it's not a bad idea.
A permanent marker.
It's not a bad idea, but you know, it's those kinds of logistics, and it's like, all right, if you're saying everybody in the executive board or at national has to carry mail at least once a year, well, as we've kind of already discussed, most of those people are retired, Table 1, getting close to retirement, probably haven't carried mail in 10 years, you know. So what happens when they retire? Did they just not get a say? Do they not get to be on the executive board? Do we put an age limit, 12 years or whatever the number is? You know, he's not going to get to do it for the rest of his life and collect a paycheck, but he will have a say in the union. He will get to, and I think when you do stuff like that, you open up the opportunities you stop the gatekeeping, right? Because if we really are a union and you're on the executive board at national, and you know you've only got 2 more years before you can't run again, like, that's going to encourage you, hopefully, to get somebody in there and to start training them and to start teaching other people, because if you start cycling through and making it so that you can't have a career in the union, then it's like, all right, well, look, I got to train somebody. I got to do my job, because part of their job is education. It is training. It is development. It doesn't matter what position they have. I mean, you go from the health benefits rep to the president of the union. Their job is education and training. So why can't that also be part of what happens at national?
Absolutely, brother. All right, man, you guys had a lot to say, so that's good. Sarah, I wonder, do you have any final thoughts, or if you just gonna end this thing? Either way. And by the way, I know for those of you that are on there, Sarah does the editing of the show, and she's gonna edit out like half of that stuff Ross just said. I'm just gonna tell you that right now.
Well, that would be Sarah for you.
Yeah, exactly. But Sarah, bring us home. You just want to cut it off, or you got any final thoughts?
I'm sleepy. Let's
Let's
get
wrap.
ready to
Hey.
wrap this up.
It's a wrap. Been a good episode. Appreciate you guys for coming on. Everyone have a good night. Bye.